There's literally no club statement that has come out from Man United saying that it's official. A couple of buyers have put in a bid. We're hearing from Fabrizio. We're hearing from David Ornstein. We're hearing from so many guys. Like, bro, it's an embarrassment. Welcome to the Top 5 Sports Podcast, and I'm your host, Chike Obaka. This is your number one sports destination. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and don't forget to follow for more sports-related content. On today's episode, I have my wonderful friend, Bolaji. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, bro. Happy to be here.
Appreciate you. I guess everyone can kind of guess what we're doing here. As you can see, we both have a team that's not really doing well, and that's Man United. But before we start, right, what I usually do when I have a guest on is that I just want to kind of see how are you doing? Like, how's life going and how's everything going?
I'm good, bro. No, can't complain. Everything's going well. You know, just work, life, trying to have a good time, you know, navigate work. I mean, outside of United not doing what they need to do, I'm pretty good.
Tell me about it. It's, well, first of all, I like that. You know, I'm happy that everything is going well for you, and I'm praying and hoping that, you know, more success to you and more power to you. All right, let's get to the main issue. Man United, right? Where do we even start from with these guys, right? Like, there's so much going on with that team that it's hard to start from somewhere, right?
Nah, for sure. It's like, I don't know. It's like, there's just so much different things, especially over the last couple years, pro Sir Alex, and even recently, just with all the drama within like last season and this season as well. It's been a mess, man. Where do you want us to start from?
I honestly, I don't know. Like, it sucks because as a Man United fan, especially when you supported them for such a long time, you are sort of used to winning.
Exactly.
And then as soon as Sir Alex just goes, it's like a U-turn, right?
Just
and then
like
you're thinking, okay, you know what? Maybe it's just one season. You know, maybe it's just one season. Then you have another season. It's like, I mean, we'll bounce back. Bro, we have not won the Premier League since 2013.
It's crazy. And I think it's even funny that you mentioned that because in the grand scheme of things, I've been a United fan now since I was like 6 or 7.
Wow.
We haven't won. Like, it's getting to the point where like it's getting close to the point where like I've seen equal amounts of like trophy-less seasons to the amount of trophies I've seen us win. And I don't like that. It's like, it's a mess.
Bruh. All right. So I want us to start off with what I personally think is the root of the issue, right? And that's the Glazers, right?
Yeah.
So they bought Man United back in 2005 for about, what, 790 million pounds. And then United were, you know, they were debt-free at that time.
Yeah.
Right. We're a club that did not owe anything. We're building on the Sir Alex. And then fast forward to today, we are $969 billion in debt. And then,
That's crazy, man.
you know, you're asking yourself, how is that possible? Clearly, the club is not being run well. And for me personally, I think when Ed Woodward came in, he kind of just ran us to the ground. Like, what's the issue with the Glazers?
I think, in my opinion, the biggest issue with the Glazers is that they don't have a love for the game. They're not United fans. You understand? They don't care about the club's best interest, in my opinion. The club is a business to them, you know? And it's like, just even look at it in terms of how they bought the club. They bought the club on debt that isn't liable to them specifically, but is liable to the club. And for them, it's like, okay, yeah, people, like opposition fans and everything say like, we spend so much in the transfer market, all of this, but that's the money that the club makes. They themselves have not invested anything into the club. So at the end of the day, I think that's what it is. It's because for them, it's more of an investment. They don't have a love for the club. They don't have a love for the game of football in general. If you ask me, it's like, for them, it's like winning is just a byproduct because okay, if you win, we make more money. Like they don't think about it in terms of like I want to win as a football fan, I want to win as a United fan. They don't have
So it's
love
sort of
for the
it's a
game.
passion thing, right? Like
Right.
it's like a businessman just wants to come in and make profit. He doesn't care how you do it,
Exactly.
but you want to make profit. That's a good point. That's a good point. I like the fact that you started from that angle because I always say that football is a game that is tied to the fans.
Exactly.
There's deep love when you play football. It's not about just like making money. Like in America, obviously the NFL, the NBA, like you make a lot of money. But when it comes to football, it's deeply rooted with the fans. And if you buy a team like Man United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, you don't expect to just come in and, just focus on profits every year. Like, where's the passion? Where's the love?
Yeah.
Like, and to follow up with that, right, I want to ask you, do you think, first of all, who do you think is going to win the bid? The Qataris or some Jim Ratcliffe?
Who do I think or who do I want to win the bid is the question. I feel like I don't know, to be honest. I feel like, and I say that because of who we're dealing with, right? It's like on one end, the Qataris are the best bets, right? But they want complete ownership, which is why I'm sometimes pessimistic. I think that maybe Ratcliffe will, because there have been rumblings that he's willing to.
Bro, I don't want
leave
Ratcliffe.
them. I don't want him either.
I
but
don't
it's like
want Ratcliffe.
there have just been rumblings that he's willing to give the Glazers a stake, which them being the money hungry people that they are, they wouldn't mind because like, okay, we still have a percentage of this club. The Qataris want the club 100%. So I think, I don't know. Like, I hope the Qataris win the bid, but you never know, man.
Bro, you know why this is so annoying? Because everyone clearly knows what the right thing to do is.
Yep.
And the Glazers have been trying to get on Sir Jim Ratcliffe's side because they know that they would still have stake in the club. And that's just pure greed. Like, you ran the club down. We're in almost $1 billion or £1 billion in debt. And then you still want to just be a greedy leash to just kind of still hold on to the club after everything you've done. Like,
even this week, the stock price went down to
Right.
the lowest it's ever been.
right.
They're asking for about 2 to 3 times
The price of the
actual valuation
right.
of the club, and it's like nobody like realistically is going to pay that. I feel like the Qataris can because they have the money to do it, but also like they're not stupid. Like at some point, it also just becomes a thing of now you're just taking the mic. You're trying to play with
Right.
intelligence, and like that's where people's pride come into things.
Bro, it's crazy because it's like, like you said last week, I think this was the first time it had a huge drop since it went public in 2012, right?
This is the lowest it's ever been.
Yeah, from $23 to $18, and you still just want to suck the life out of the club.
Yeah.
Like, no, we don't want you. The Qataris gave you $5 billion, which is way higher than the valuation of the club, and then you're putting in an extra. Oh, I want $7 billion, $8 billion, and they're clearing your debt basically.
Right, and that's the crazy part. Is like the $5 billion is not including the debt that they're clearing. It's not including the pledge to revamp Old Trafford, which in total will probably bring them out of about how much? Anywhere from like 10 to
right?
about 10. So it's like, come on, like,
Bro,
be realistic.
Bro, this club really like, and it's kind of like a testament to Ferguson, right? Because when the Glazers took over, people thought that they were good owners, but they didn't realize it was Sir Alex Ferguson that was actually running the club.
Yeah.
Because they didn't care about, like you said, they didn't care about anything that had to do with like, soccer related or football related or anything like that. They never cared.
Yeah.
They just knew that Ferguson ran the club from top to bottom. When the results came in, they got the paycheck, they get their dividends, and that's it.
That's the thing. And he was getting those results with a dwindling squad as
Bro,
well.
like
And it's crazy when you think. I mean, when you think about it now, it's like at that age, I didn't really realize what
Right.
was going on, and even up until the point where Sir Alex was talking about retirement, it's beginning to make more sense because he wanted to bow out gracefully because he had
Right.
already seen what was going on, the intricacies of what was going on behind the scenes. And like it just even reminds me of when like Wayne Rooney wanted to leave as well, but like that
Right.
was part of the issue of like the inflow of players coming in were not to the standard at which the club needed at the time, and all of those
Bro,
things.
it's like we're seeing symptoms.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I wouldn't even say they're sort of symptoms, but
There
like
are symptoms.
I'm saying, like when players wanted to leave, they saw something wrong with the club. Ronaldo's dream was to play for Real Madrid, but Ronaldo, Wayne Rooney, right?
It's like, how do you lose Ronaldo in a transfer? Who did we buy that window that we
I
lost?
don't even know. I think
Was that not the window that
We got Berbatov.
No, Bebeto and Ronaldo.
But
played
yeah,
together.
they played together,
So
right?
like they brought in, I think it was Nani Ubertan and
No, Nani was around because
Yeah,
he won
no, so yeah,
Champions
it
League. It was
was
Obertan
Obertan
and
and then-
Michael Owen or someone.
like bringing Michael Owen. Michael Owen's knees are gone. No disrespect to Michael Owen, he's an England legend. I know, but like
England legend, right?
it was done at the time. It was always injured, and like we still got results. Yeah, like remember there were games where Sir Alex was playing Raphael in midfield.
Bro, you're talking John. This guy won the league with John O'Shea, Cleverly, and Welbeck. That has to tell you how. And I mean, again, it's credit to how great Sir Alex is, but man, how
Was it
bad
less,
was it on the inside?
Must have been
Like
crazy.
what? How bad were the Glazers?
Yeah, man.
Man, I don't know. Like, and you know, let me just ask you this: would we justify or do we conclude that they're the reason why we are where we are today, the Glazers?
Oh, 100%. Like they're the biggest issue that the club has in general, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that make the biggest decisions for the club. It's like they're the ones that hire the personnel that do the day-to-day work. They probably, and that's the thing, is like as a team that, like I said earlier, as people that they're not fans of the game, they don't like win lose outside of the fact that they're making less money. They don't care to the point where it's like I doubt they're not hands-on owners. They're not in on the day-to-days or the intricacies of what's going on, which is why we can't have people like Ed Woodward at the club for so long, giving lucrative contracts to people that don't deserve it.
Bro,
Spending money like in places that we
even
shouldn't
talking
be spending
about,
money.
like-
And like, yeah, at the end of the day, you can see that, yeah, we did those things, right? Poor scouting networks, because we'll be signing players, and it's just like, what exactly is the plan for this person? I can never forget, for example, like the most ridiculous of them all for me was the Alexis Sanchez signing.
I was
And I
just
looked-
about to
and I
say
looked
that,
at
bro.
that, and I was just like,
Bro, you paid how much was he earning per week? It was like 600 and something, right?
I can't remember.
And they did this silly commercial of him playing piano, and it was like, I was
that-
like, it was fire though, but
100%.
But it was like,
we thought
we thought we were getting something, right?
But like my biggest, like regardless of what the thing was, like at the time, I still thought Alexis Sanchez was a good player, but I was just like, why are we paying this guy 300? I think it was 300K at the time.
bro, it was not. It was, we were desperate. We were paying Alexis at least 400 to 500 grand a week
That's crazy.
because
I mean,
we got him for, was it a loan move or
no, we signed him.
we signed him,
Signed
right?
from Arsenal.
But bro,
And that's the thing though, because like that destroyed our wage structure completely, to the point where it's like, okay, you're paying this guy this amount, he's not playing, he's not starting because he wasn't playing well. The guy was saving our lives week in, week out. He's like, okay, now this is what I'm asking for. Pogba, okay, now this is what I'm asking for.
Bro.
Players coming in.
Let me tell you a story, right? So I think Rojo did an interview. I don't know if you know about this.
Yeah.
And then he was talking about how it was at Man United, and then Harry Maguire, right, was defending. He was playing terrible, and Harry Maguire is a terrible defender in my own opinion. And he was playing terrible in that game. And then Rojo was telling Solskjaer, coach, put me in. He's clearly not playing well. Do you know what Solskjaer told him?
What do you tell him?
He said, we bought this guy for 80 million. We can't take him out.
And that's the thing.
Like, you understand? You see the craziness that's going on in that club?
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, I mean, we're going to get into Ten Hag over time. It's just like, and that's why I keep saying it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, if you're sanctioning these things, you're not doing, I mean, at the time, right, Harry Maguire was probably one of the better defenders in the league. Like,
I think he had like one good season.
yeah, I mean,
Just
we
one
was just
good
off of
season.
one good season, but like,
Yeah.
we were in for him. City were in for him that season. But it's also a thing of like, if you're signing a player, you have to understand how their profile fits into your system. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I'm sorry, is tactically inept. He's not thinking about
Right.
those things. This is
Right.
what I was telling them to play with passion and play the United.
Right,
What
right.
are the tactics?
What are the
that?
tactics, right?
You know, it's like you can't have a defender that is not fast, and then you're playing a high line, right? Because every time the ball comes over in behind,
they're gonna beat him
exposed.
through the
You're for
channel,
dead.
right? You're dead.
Like Maguire has always been, even for England, Maguire has always been a defender that plays well in a back five or a back three where he's not isolated, right? He has cover. There are people that can support him, but based on the dynamics of our team, like as much as I would like to say that, like Maguire, I don't think he's a great defender in general, but like we've also never really played to his strengths. Now that we are prior to Ten Hag, and then like when we now bring Ten Hag in, we can also see now more that he's not a good defender because. And that's one thing I love the most about Ten Hag as a manager. Is like
he's ruthless. We're gonna get to Ten Hag. I want us to spend a specific amount of time with Ten Hag, but going back to your point about Maguire, I think that the fault with United is that we value players higher than actual value, and when they get into the club, they think they're actually as good as they're worth. And that's been the problem with players coming into the United because you sign Maguire, 80 million. He actually thinks that he's a player that can play up to 80 million.
And that just goes back to what we were saying earlier, Chike, because at the end of the day, it comes from a place of desperation, comes from a place of poor negotiations, negotiating skills in general. And where does that come from? The higher ups. Because at the end of the day, who's negotiating these transfers is Ed Woodward.
Do you let me wait? Do you really even think that? Because even with Ed Woodward, do you actually even think that the Glazers care what we do? Because I feel like those guys are just in a room with the top boardroom and just like, okay, who's the hottest player in there? How much is he worth? What does he want? Give him money, right? That's just me being like extra. But like going back to what you said,
I feel like
there's no strategy.
I feel like to some degree that's probably what it is like. But I also feel like people that have proven that they're very stingy with their money, I feel like there's a certain amount of due diligence that they would do, but that's also to the best of their capacity, right? Because they're inept at the end of the day, right?
That's fair. That's fair.
They will ask all of those questions. They might drag back and forth, and like us, like in general, prior to this season or like Ten Hag's first season, even with Ten Hag, it's like we still struggle to like get our deals done early. Like negotiations for us is always a problem.
Let me give you a crazy stat. United have never. This is the first time we're signing a player in June. I think in the last almost 6 years or 7 years. That's insane.
Crazy. That's crazy.
Like, do you see, bro? Anyways, there's a lot to talk about the Glazers, which I don't even want to go into because the fact that they're still running this club, it literally just it gets to me. So I just need something needs to change.
And the crazy part about it is like we still haven't even heard like if you're going to reject a bid, they haven't said anything.
Bro, nothing.
Just have everybody in limbo.
Nothing. Like
since what? July, June? When was the last bid? No, the last bid was before the start of the end of the season.
November last year was when they put it out that they're open to bids. It's been a year and we don't even have an actual confirmation from the club. There's no club statement saying anything that there's a bid that has been put in. All we're just hearing is rumors. There's literally no club statement that has come out from Man United saying that it's official. A couple of buyers have put in a bid. We're hearing from Fabrizio. We're hearing from David Ornstein. We're hearing from so many guys. Like, bro, it's an embarrassment. It's so embarrassing, and I feel sad for United fans that kind of joined United late, did not experience the glory days, because part of me still kind of like I don't stick to the glory days, but like I've seen the good side of it, right? So.
Which makes it easier for us to
exactly
deal with this on a
right
season to season basis.
Yeah, but anyways, just wanted to get that out of the way. Moving on to what's going on with the players now. So I'm gonna read a tweet from Alice Abrahams, right? And this is what she said. She said, in the last 3 years at Man United, 3 women have accused Anthony of assault. Sancho's statement of him being a scapegoat. Greenwood situation. The takeover is being dragged like we just talked about. Ronaldo going on Piers Morgan. Ten Hag goes down on how bad the club is being run. Eric Bailey talks about the club favoring some players. Maguire not refusing to take a pay cut. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes getting the captaincy. Ralph Ragnick calls the club out saying we need open heart surgery. And again, this goes back to symptoms, right? Mm-hmm. When I look at United, personally, there's some things that I think are going wrong with that club. I think the closest person to kind of exposing that was Cristiano, even though I don't applaud what he did, but it was good for us because it exposed a lot. I want us to touch on the structure. Which players do you feel right now on the squad should not be in a team?
I love this question. So, what are we like? I mean, there are two sides to it, right? Are we basing this strictly off of ability, like inability, like in terms of incompetence, or their attitude, or both?
Everything. Because, and I'm gonna go back to you because I feel like there are certain players that don't have the right attitude. I feel like there are players that feel that they're as good as they are, but actually in reality they're not. Mm-hmm. And my brother said something where I was talking to him, and we're talking about systems and great players. Coaches bring in systems, and they find players that adapt to that system to the best of its ability. But sometimes in systems, they're great players that are exceptional, that you sort of give a free role. They kind of express themselves. The Messis, the Cristianos, the Ronaldinhos, right? The dilemmas, Ronaldo dilemma. But in United, there's kind of like that identity crisis that they have because some players think that they're better than what they are. Therefore, they don't want to adapt to the system. Right. And then some players are system players, but they're not up to their full potential to achieve that. Mm-hmm. That's just my personal opinion, right? But I just wanted your thoughts. Which players holistically do you feel should not be in United?
Harry Maguire, for sure.
I agree.
McTominay, from an ability standpoint.
Let's be okay. Look at it from a standpoint of what's the standard. If you were gonna,
if we're going off of that,
if City is the standard,
obviously, if City is the standard, there are like three players that should be in that team now. There are like three.
Oh my god!
If City is the standard, okay, let's do it like that. If City is the
okay,
standard,
no, let's not use City as Ten Hag's quality standard.
Okay, from Ten Hag's standpoint, Maguire has to go for sure. McTominay has to go, or his degree to the first team has to be like it can't be like 2 to 3 players away from being in the first team. Dalot and Wan-Bissaka, I feel like they're okay, but they are not good enough.
Thank you. That's what I want to say. Yeah.
They're okay, but they're not good enough. Malacia to and then we'll also get it. I feel like at some point we also have to talk about Ten Hag signings. But
yeah, for sure.
Malacia to okay, that's fine. So that's defense midfield. Our strikers, we don't really have. It's hard for me to say Sancho, and I'm not counting Sancho.
Sancho is a funny situation because obviously we got him based off what he did in Borussia Dortmund, right? But I feel like the potential is there with Sancho.
But I'm also beginning to be very skeptical of the Bundesliga as a whole.
That's a good point.
A Bundesliga tax standpoint.
But if you look at it, you have to look at Erling Haaland and what he's doing. Do we say Erling Haaland is the exception?
Who else? Okay, let's talk about who else from the Bundesliga has come into the Premier and has shown something.
That's a good question.
Haaland is an anomaly.
Yeah, I think he's the exception.
Anybody that can score 50 goals in this season.
Yeah, he's the exception. Honestly, you're right. I can't think of a guy who has come from the Bundesliga and I mean, did Emre Can? No, Emre Can wasn't good for Liverpool. He was okay.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like that's just be like, wow.
Right.
And that's the thing.
Yeah, there's no one.
I think about it. So like, but I agree with you, Sancho. I feel like it just goes back to what I was saying. It's like you can't players like I feel like if Sancho had gone to a City or an Arsenal,
he would have. I
He would be
honestly,
flourishing.
he will flourish.
And the thing about it is because, like you said, I feel like United's biggest issue with those signings, like we're making marquee signings that should be added to a foundation, and there was no foundation to begin with.
And that goes back to the system of which I think Ten Hag is trying to build that.
Right.
But the players are not responding because if you look at it, there are a couple players that, again, wage structure. They're getting paid more than what they should be. The value of the player, how much we bought them. In their minds, they're thinking, I am bigger than what I am. And in reality, they're actually not.
Right.
Like, there's a few, like, going back to the players that I just feel like, obviously, Maguire, he thinks he's bigger than what he is. He's not. I would say, Sancho, right? But again, Sancho, a lot of fans and a lot of people think that the potential is still there because clearly we've seen it. If I was going to call another guy too as well, I would say like even when we got Pogba, bro. Like I'll be honest, I was never a fan of Pogba. Not because Pogba has a lot of potential, but he's a player that I feel cannot be coached.
So
He does not respond to coaching.
This is my thing with Pogba is this, right? I feel like in general, this is also about football now. There's this expectation that once somebody is signed for a certain amount of money, they should be putting in 20 goals and 15 as like there's just I feel like football has become so statistically based that like people don't see when somebody is performing on a weekend. Like at the end of the day, right? As much as we can say that, you can't tell me Pogba performed under every coach that he played for under United.
So was it Mourinho that got him? It was Mourinho. I think it was Mourinho. Yeah.
But in any, and that's the thing, right? In any role that he has been asked to play for United, he has performed. And I was having this conversation with one of my friends. It's so hilarious how like for the longest time we had Pogba in the midfield with Bruno, and we were saying we need a DM. No answer. Fair. Comes to the point in time where Pogba is playing his best football. He's the best player on our team. Fans are abusing him week in, week out. He says, okay, United don't try and extend him fast enough. He says he's going. We then sign a DM. Now we need a six that can hold the ball, progress the ball forward, make those passes, do all of those things. And it's just, to me, it was just so hilarious because it's like, we've had somebody that can do this role for this long. We didn't give him a world-class defensive midfielder, which we now have in Casemiro.
But you have to keep in mind.
Now we're looking for the exact same thing we had for so long.
So I do agree with your point because we kind of, we messed up in figuring out where to actually play Pogba. And I've always said that Pogba needed a DM to perform, right? And we as United fans, we always saw him as, the guy to do everything, which he couldn't do, obviously, right? But for Pogba to really express himself, he needed, if you look at it in Juventus, he had Pirlo, right? A holding midfielder. He had Pirlo. So Pogba was able to push up, score a lot of goals. In France, he had Kante. Yeah. That's why he performed very well. So United, we never had a true DM who was able to, I think when Matic kind of came, we saw a little bit of expression with Pogba. And that is true. That is to his credit. But my issue with Pogba was that he made his name bigger than the actual job he was supposed to put on, like the actual role he was supposed to play. He made his name bigger than football, which honestly, you get the fame, that's fine. But when you do that, it's hard to understand the amount of effort you're supposed to put in because you could kind of see it in his body language. When he has a bad game, he doesn't care. He puts TikTok, he dabs and all that, on the side. And I'm not saying that's not okay. That's fine. You can do that, right? But if you're going to play for Man United, it has to be a mentality thing. And that's why Ferguson never tolerated when he said he never tolerated when a player tried to be bigger than the club. He would give you the hair dryer treatment. He did it for Beckham. He did it for Van Nistelrooy. He did it for Roy Keane. Ferguson would never let a player think that they're bigger than the club, because when you do that, that's a distraction. And when you put on the badge to play for Man United, you best believe that the pressure is already on you, number one, which I honestly think is affecting a couple of players on the team, because they don't feel like they can live up to playing for Man United because of the history and all that. But again, you have to have the right kind of mindset. I don't even question his skills. I question his mindset. What does he come into the game thinking? Is he thinking because I'm Pogba, I should get special treatment? Or is he thinking I need to play my role as a football player? That's my personal opinion with Pogba.
That's fair.
Because honestly, there's a list. There's a whole list of players that down the years, I don't even want to talk about Lukaku, first of all, Lakaka. But I'm not trying to take away the talent that these guys have. I just personally think that, when you play football, push everything out the window and play football, man. Look at Man City, bro. Tell me one player in Man City that you can point out and say, oh, this guy kind of has that suave. Maybe Grealish. But what does Pep do with Grealish? He makes sure that you do your nonsense out of the field, but when it's time to play, you play.
Man, don't want to talk about Man City.
All right, we're not talking about Man City.
I'll start crying here.
So going back to the players, you said Maguire.
McTominay.
You said McTominay.
I don't think Dalo
and
Wan-Bissaka are good enough.
Going to the mid. Who else again in the midfield?
Martial. The thing about Martial is, I genuinely believe that there's a football player, Anthony Martial.
Oh yeah.
But your best ability is your availability, man.
Absolutely.
It's never available.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's it, really. I mean.
Okay, so what I'm about to say might shake you a little bit, especially a couple United fans, but Bruno Fernandes, right? I love him, right? Special player, exceptional player. But sometimes I would always wish he would respond to the game in a different way. His body language is a little bit shaky for me, because he's a warrior. He wants to play. And sometimes when he loses the ball, he gets all, a little bit this and a little bit that. Again, I'm not taking away what he brings. Bruno Fernandes has been our best signing in the last, probably since Fergie left.
He is.
Right.
It's not a probability.
Yeah, he's probably our best signing since Fergie left. But I'd really wish there's just a little thing. I really wish he'd just respond to the game in a more positive way.
So the thing about my take on Bruno is this, right? He does have those moments where he moans and it creates, my only issue with that it creates a bad reputation for him with like referees, pundits, etc. And that feeds into how he's going to be treated on the pitch. But the one thing I can give Bruno about that is Bruno will whinge and moan, and then he's tracking back.
Yes,
he's winning
his work rate
he's doing what he like.
Right.
He like in that moment he might react that way, but it doesn't seem to affect his overall performance. Like, I'm not saying he has perfect games all the time, but what I'm saying is that, like, for him, like, we already know how he is in terms of he's a creator. Bruno's going to get, as long as you're running in behind, he's going to make that pass. Like, he's going to make that defense splitting pass. Whether or not it works or not, he's going to at least attempt it. And that's one thing I value him for. But we know that side of things. So, like, it's the other side of, his work ethic, and he does that well.
Right.
And he doesn't let those moments of frustration in a game necessarily affect how he does the nitty-gritty. So I personally have no problem with it for those reasons.
Okay. That's fair. And I'm not trying to take away what he does, right? Sometimes I just wish, man, players just need to play.
Right.
Like, again, I get it. You want to win. I've seen Rashford do that too sometimes, like body language. But I just really wish, maybe I'm overthinking it actually, but I just really wish the way he responds to the game, because it builds up, when it kind of, you can't hide body language. I always tell that. How your body responds to things sort of tells what's going on in your mind. And Bruno is exceptional. Again, going back, I think he's the best signing since Ferguson. He kind of changed our dynamic as a club, sort of giving us that giving us hope to some degree. First
Right.
season, he was exceptional under Oli, and he's been great ever since. So,
I have slight criticism for when you were mentioning, I was going to say
Rashford,
Rashford, but I didn't
right,
want
right.
to. I have my own criticism of him as well. I feel like my biggest issue with Rashford is his decision making. His decision making on the pitch sometimes is terrible.
In what sense? In his final ball, or
His final ball, there will be instances in which he should be passing it to somebody into space and will choose to take on a man. And I'm just like, why? Like, I understand you want to score your goals, you want to do those things. And then sometimes his attitude as well.
yeah, he's
For example, the easiest example I can give is against Arsenal. That Gabriel Jesus goal is on him.
You know what's crazy about that Arsenal game?
Because
There was a chance where I think it was 3v2, where Rashford was on the left, Anthony on the right, and then Højlund was down the
part
middle.
of the decision making.
That's
And
it.
that instance happened at least 2 or 3 times when Højlund came on, because Højlund played the ball to him on the left a couple times. There was an instance in which Rashford shot and Ramsdale saved that he probably could have squared the ball. Yeah, so it's just those things of like his decision. Like, it looks like to me, and that's the issue I have with him, right? It's because at the end of the day, he's 25 years old now.
Yeah, he's still young.
He does. He's not even that. Like, the point I'm trying to make is he's 25 years old. Mbappe in that position is making better decisions.
Absolutely.
Like, the players that are younger than you, like, part of it comes down to experience, right? But like, and coaching, right? But there's also a thing of like, why is that the choice you're making in that space?
Right.
You know? And then, like we're saying, his attitude is like the goal for that Gabriel Jesus scored. I can't remember who was in a 50-50 with. He pulled out of the 50-50 challenge at the end of extra time in a match you're trying to come back into. Even if you're not going to, like, put your body on the line there.
Right.
Even if you get a foul, you get a yellow card. Okay, actually, you would have gotten sent off. Now that I think about it. But still, it's like,
where's the effort,
where's
right?
the effort?
Where's the, you're not doing what you need to do. And it's like, I man.
But that's the thing, is like,
Go
he'll
ahead.
get his goals, he'll get his assists, but there's certain situations in which it's games like those where, and like obviously he scored that day, all of that. It's games like those that we need more from you in that regard. Also, I think Eriksen, that's another player I don't think is.
I think with Eriksen, I think technique-wise, he's the best that we have.
Yeah,
but
the best that we have is probably
he's
the best
just
progressor of the ball.
Right, but I just feel like fitness-wise,
Exactly.
he's old. Track back, because when Mason Mount in the first half against Tottenham, I think I saw what he could be potentially, because he was pacing, tracking back, and all that. I don't know if we're using him the right way, but when I look at Eriksen, I'm like, when you're playing for a Ten Hag system, you got to put in the effort. And I think he kind of gets that leeway because of his technique, because and his true position is a 10. Having him as a central midfielder, as an 8, it's difficult.
And the thing about it is that, like, and this is why I can't, like I can't really be too angry at Eriksen. He's old, bro. That's the first thing.
You
Second,
said that with so much pain. Like,
bro, he's old. Like, let's be honest, bro. Like, he's old.
He's old.
This
right,
man he has a pacemaker in his chest, bro.
Right,
Like,
right,
like let's be for real. Like,
right.
he started, like, even last season, he started exceptionally well for us. But it's like, bro, like, at the end of the day, it's like him, Casemiro, and this is also part of the issues that
Casemiro is another player. I think we
Bruno
need to
is 20.
start. We need to start like saying, bro, we saw this season, Casemiro's age is catching up,
But it's also,
and we can't rely on that for too long.
And that's the thing. And this is the point. I mean, it's like, even the solutions that we have now are short-term solutions.
Right.
Bruno turned 29 yesterday.
Man,
How many more? Like, he has probably another 2 to 3 good years in him before we need to start thinking about alternatives again. And that's the thing, is like, there's no structure in this regard. There's no, Then you have your coach asking for certain players. We watch them go to our rivals and our competitors. You have Rani coming and suggesting a list of players that we should sign. Doesn't hear anything. Those players go elsewhere and are performing.
Okay, so before we move on to the next thing, a player I also want to talk about is Anthony. I think Anthony has a lot of potential, but I believe that he has the worst output in the Premier League for a player, because I've never seen a player that doesn't know how to make decisions at the wing, especially his final balls are the worst, assisting and scoring. And again, I believe the potential is there with Anthony. I just think that something is not clicking. Something is off. Again, going back to how much we paid for him might be affecting his true worth. And maybe the allegations going on might be messing up with his mind. But last season, we saw the same thing. Excuse me. We saw the same thing. So it's not like this is like his first season. Like, I get it. The allegations might be affecting you and, you're feeling a little off. But, bro, Anthony's final decision and final ball, I believe, is the worst in the Premier League.
No. His decision making is terrible.
It's
and the thing about it is, and I think this is also part of his decision making is terrible. But then there's so many other reasons as to why a player doesn't play well, right? It's like he's what? I don't think plays on the right wing. Our right backs, how do they support him? Like, at the end of the day, every good team that has good wingers, you see that their right back show for them. They create overlapping runs, underlapping runs, give you options. Anthony's decision making definitely is poor, but then it's also a thing of like he's a lot of his raw talents. He needs to definitely develop some kind of work with his right. Or even if he doesn't he needs to learn how to get to the byline, right? So there's that. What else can we look at? But yeah, no, I feel like those are the
yeah.
Like,
I think there's a lot of issues with that.
There's been no target man in the box for the longest time. Who is he crossing to in the box? Those are all the things.
And I feel I'm a little bit optimistic with Højlund, but I guess we wouldn't go into that. But overall,